6. Okay, it's 6 when it says I'm live here. Now I'm gonna count when I see it 1. Oh, wait, it's 7 seconds. I'm waiting for the 9. It's 10 seconds to where I can see it on the screen. I don't see it on the screen just yet. Oh, I heard it. So it took 12 seconds, at least on this counter. I'm gonna turn it down. That's how I know we are live up in here. Live. Good morning to you if you're on the West Coast. If you're on the East Coast, good afternoon to you. If you're across the seas going east, good evening to you. Thank you for tuning in to today's live on the Entrepreneur Weekly Recap from October 10th through October 16th. Drinking some coffee. Some people might not call it coffee because as much cream as I put in. I didn't even make sure a lot of my stuff was working correctly, but I think so. However, one side's working and one side's not in regards to my tool. So I'm just gonna make sure you know that I'm available for questions. So I'm gonna put that in the chat. Maybe this thing's not allowing me to, so it looks like I gotta use. Man, it's always interesting about this technology, but I definitely want to hear about your week. I want to hear what's popping, what's going on. Go put ask me anything. In regards to marketing. And today's topic, for those that don't know, my name is Nathan Webster. Thank you for tuning in to everything that I do in regards to marketing. I'm a fractional CMO. Today, I'm going to talk about fractional CMO and life be lifing because I run a marketing agency. I'm a college professor and I'm a dad. So that's kind of like the stuff I'm talking about, life be lifing, right? So what do you want to talk about today? Outside of those two things, life be life and fractional CMO, I'm going to say, put those things you want to talk about in the chat. All right. So let's keep it going because, I'm not going to be on here all day. Again, got my coffee. So thank you for my viewers out there. I appreciate you. Let's just get right into it. And I'm looking at my calendar. So I have my calendar on my left, my notes as well, because I gotta follow some sort of script, else I'll be all over the place. I got my big screen right here, just to make sure when it comes to any comments or anything like that, it'll show up right here. But it doesn't look like I had any comments. So let me put that again in the chat for y'all that are watching. So if you have any questions, hit me, not hit me, or I should say, put them here. All right. So today's topic is fractional CMO. Sorry, I'm not the fastest typers today. Topics: fractional CMO and life be lifing. So let's get to it because this week's been crazy. And I'm going to just say it started from last week. And as a single dad, let's just start with the life be lifing because the fractional CMO stuff, that's going to go in there. And we're going to chop that up no matter what. Because it pays the bills. So I'm going to go back last week because last week, if you remember when we talked about it, if you haven't, for those that are just jumping on, I do my lives a little bit differently. I like to do a recap because when I was an entrepreneur, I didn't have kind of like a sounding board or someone to give me any insights of what it was like being an entrepreneur because it's not for everybody. And I really enjoy it. But, just like with anything, it's not easy. And there's hills, there's valleys, there's peaks, there's plane rides to sometimes you feel like there's plane crashes that we all survive, right? But not everyone does. Businesses close, have been closing quite frequently, and I feel horrible. And And that's just the tough part about it, because you eat, live, breathe everything your business. And for me, last week, I had a really tough week because one of my daughters is just going through a really tough time, in regards to just making some g- good decisions about how to cope with stress. And look, I'll be the first one to say I am not the first one to say I've conquered it. I know I'm not saying that she's not in the wrong for how she is dealing with all this stress. I remember having a therapist say, like, you can stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff, but at some point the trash collector is going to come, and you're going to have and and you have to give the garbage collector all this emotions that you have stuffed down. And if you don't give it to them in the proper way, then it's going to overflow and it's just going to erupt. And so they were like, some people are volcanoes when they erupt, some people are like volcanoes that just, you know, k- just explode the whole island. Some are like tsunamis. So I remember my therapist saying, like, it's really hard to figure out a way to stop stuffing when that has been your ability to deal with problems, deal with stress. And I feel for my little girl, because she has gone through a lot. And so last week we had to get some serious help, where I was averaging about 2 hours of sleep. Um, that led to this week, when it came to me having to do some transport transportation, uh, just be very vigilant, hyper vigilant, if you will. And it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard. And being a single dad, um, and their mom's not that involved, and they have siblings, and they are just not in a place where, especially as she started high school, just not in a place where she can get all the help. So me, as the dad, I'm balancing. Which last week I had a good week with the business. I closed I closed a deal. I followed up with another deal, and it was like, we got to keep this train moving. I met some awesome people last week. I worked some stuff out for the conference, and all these things that I have going on. Right, it's still part of the things that take care of me, and just to have that balance is extremely difficult. So let me just jump to the balance, because I also want to do the fractional CMO stuff. But I just want to make sure that you understand that, when life hits, it hits, and it hits hard. Like, what did Mike Tyson say? Everybody got a plan till they get punched in the face. And so when that punch comes in your personal life and you still got a business, it's not like you can take PTO, pay time off, or any time off. You still got to keep it going. So for the balance, I did golf last week, and it felt really good. But then, you still got to do what you got to do. And so when it comes to the fractional CMO stuff, it was really nice that I did have that. I enjoy being an entrepreneur. And so when I first got started, being an entrepreneur, everybody says, like, you don't be a carbon copy, don't duplicate any services, no need to reinvent the wheel. So you feel like you go to this island, and on this island, you're going to build this beautiful value proposition of your business, and you're going to do all these great things. And so you kind of go into the shack and you do your work, and from the research and your collaboration, you have this beautiful masterpiece. But no one tells you that, yeah, even though you got to be different, you have to operate the same as everybody else. And then they don't tell you, as some of those people that you're going to be competing with, you're also going to be collaborating with. And you also need to learn from them and be patient and wait your turn. And you're like, what? Huh? Says who? So I learned, this was like 20 years when I'm talking about, where, I didn't have access to the internet, in regards to on a daily basis. YouTube wasn't around to where people were dropping diamonds, and you can learn so much with YouTube University. You were just told to you need to go talk to that person, or you need to go figure it out, but before you come back here, make sure you do your due diligence. And so that was the balance of where, like, you just kind of stay head down and you're focusing on your passion. And so that's in the era of being an entrepreneur I grew up in. And so when it came to that balance of the fractional CMO stuff, I was really happy because yesterday I did a podcast with one of my clients and also a friend. And anytime someone's a client, they're a family to me, in my opinion, because I give my all. I don't believe this is just business. My business is also very personal. And when I say it's personal, it's important when I say personal that I'm going to give my very best. I'm going to give my all. I'm going to set healthy boundaries, of course. But when I was having this podcast yesterday, the podcast was unlike any other podcast I've done before, because the prior week, when all this chaos was happening, this client said, "Nathan, I understand what you're saying now when you're telling me about branding. And Nathan, I understand when you're saying that I need testimonials, because now other people are asking me." There's like, of course, you said it first, but when someone else says it to you, it's like it's an affirmation. And so this time she was like, "You know what? I know I need testimonials, but you need testimonials too. And you should make a podcast about that." And on a side note, y'all, this is why yesterday was so phenomenal. Uh, I've Whenever I get an affirmation, right, it's more of a like, oh wow, like this is real. I need to take it like this is legitimate. And this is not just advice. This is like God telling me, if you don't do this, you could be being disobedient. You could end up like Jonah in the belly of a fish. And if you don't do your purpose, okay? So I'm holding my coffee. I haven't taken a sip. All right. So on that side note, let me come back to the mainland. And the mainland was, which you'll see when you every podcast comes out is Monday. We talked about uh, how people ignore marketing, and we want to say that I don't need marketing because I got this group of circle of clients, and these clients take care of me, and all this stuff, right? From word of mouth to referral base, and it's great, if you got word of mouth and referrals. Psh. But what's crazy is everyone has to promote. Marketing is not just this social media posting. Marketing is not this, I'm going to put up uh, a website. I'm not, or email. All these things, right? Those are just tactics. Marketing is an ecosystem that is always telling, promoting, informing, educating, nurturing, and fulfilling the promise of your brand. And I've been talking to her about this, and the beautiful thing is when you do your job correctly as a fractional CMO, it comes back to you. And I just took on this fractional CMO a year ago. Not even a year ago, let me be honest. Not like I was being dishonest, but I was always a fractional CMO, but without the title. I gave myself the title just so I can help people. And I said that even in the interview when I was not clear in the things that I did. She even said, like, I didn't know what you did. And I was like, I didn't do a great job explaining to people what I did. And so here I get the opportunity to tell you in my podcast, why you shouldn't ignore marketing, but it's not through my voice, it's through my client's voice. And it's so impactful, it's so powerful, and it's so healing when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing it not out of just because it's to pay the bills or because I have to be here, it's my 9 to 5. You're doing it because you put so much time, you've invested so much into your craft, and now you are able to give it to someone for exchange of, contract and money and blah, blah, blah. But now you're able to see the fruits of your labor transform someone else's life, not just your life, but someone else's life. It was coming back to my first client ever in the business. I'm thinking I'm doing nonprofit work, and I put out Google ads, and my very first client was someone from Florida, which is across the country. We earned their business to do their website, and they were a marketing boutique. I'm like, what? So as a entrepreneur, it, life can be challenging because you are on this moat, this island, right? And you're trying to function like everyone else. But if you're always talking to W-2s, they're all about doing what they need to do for their job, which is a different company. But when it comes to speaking to people how to make sure you're good with your company, you it's a different circle of people. And this is why I loved about this week was, man, from the podcast yesterday, I had a couple of sessions, even last week, that were like, Nathan, like, I don't know what you do, but I would love to work with you. And I had a couple of meetings this week that were like, yeah, I need to get going on this, and I want to get going on this. I just don't know how. And we just been struggling doing this, doing that, and I'm like, man, isn't that something when other people are struggling? And earlier this week, I was talking to someone, and they were like, on paper, it looks great. On paper, everything's fine, but it just doesn't feel fine. And I thought that was very interesting because, you know, sometimes we fail to understand that this, thing we call life, and we're doing all these different things, to like check the box or put a stamp on it, or like, I'm going to do this for my boss or for my company. At the end of the day, what are you doing for yourself? And, this weekly recap, I'm talking to the people out there that, I if you're an entrepreneur, like for real, if you're an entrepreneur, you understand that if you don't do the work, no one else is going to do the work. And that's okay. But you have to get it done. And in those times, it's lonely. And then that loneliness, it's this like pain, right? But it's not a pain like, oh man, this sucks. Da, da, da. It's just like, man, I really want to see my baby come to fruition. I really want to see my baby go to the next level. I want to see my baby do the things that I created it to do. And not always do we kind of get that when we need it, but all of a sudden, boom, we get it. And unfortunately, this person I was talking to, they were like, man, it looks great on paper, but it doesn't look good, because this is what happens when we don't fulfill our own brand promises, our own brand for ourselves. Like, it starts with ourselves. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but at that moment, especially in the podcast, this is not anything that I can do. This is all about you. It's to feel like your brand to others. When I say be you, unapologetically you, you're going to bless someone. And guess what? That person is going to bless you back, because you gave them something no one else could have given them except for you. And when you do that, the feeling that 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 overwhelming sensation, knowing that you have fulfilled something that no one else could have done, like no one else could done. You feel like, oh wait, I can do this. Oh wait, this is real. Like, oh wait, I'm living my dream. I'm living my passion. Your bank account might not look like that, right? Your blood pressure might not look like that, right? But the process, it's not about perfection, it's about making progress. So in that process, this is why they say it's all about the process. It's not Do not make it about the destination. Focus on the process. And the process is going to take you to the destination. The funny thing about the destination, just like I say in marketing, it's just always evolving, which means it's always changing. It's always moving. We are always hitting a moving target. So in marketing, you are always wanting to keep the engine going, keep the fire burning. Why? Because marketing never stops. Like I was saying in the beginning, Marketing is an ecosystem that never stops. For your company to survive, you're always going to need clients. You're always going to need cash flow. And in order to get that, you're always going to need to find new blood because there's what's called a customer lifetime value, CLV. CLV, that customer lifetime value, is when a customer will only spend X amount of dollars with you before they find another competitor or they move on, because at some point in time that you will have either outgrown the customer or the customer will outgrow you. And sometimes it is what it is. Perfect example. And I'll end on this because uh I want to make sure I send a little shout out to my bae. Her name's Grace, and she's always supported me, right? And when it comes to our anniversary, she's always on top of it. It's the 14th of every month. She beats me to it, right? And if I was to buy her something, more than likely it's going to be something sweet. But we have gone to different restaurants, and really they're like bakeries over there in Nairobi, Kenya, and there's a whole lot more, right? But when I buy something, it was good for the moment of the time, but then we kind of said like, oh, we want this, we want that. Like I'm only gonna spend this amount or that amount, or it's like, I want to try something new. I want to try something different. And so when we've gone to different places, and especially the place that I like, she knows which one I like. Um, I was just like, I would only go here for so long, right? I would rather go to someplace else because it was nice for the time, but now I want something different. And I even for when we do our golf trips, when if you look, I have playlists that has me golfing. Me and my buddies, we go on this golf trip, and the golf trip is lit. But I probably won't be going back to those places. It was just a one-time thing. So when we create something, getting a one-time purchase is a transaction. But if you want a multiple transactions, it's a relationship. And that's where branding comes in. And as a fractional CMO, and when I talk about my personal life, like on the 14th, I'm trying to find a gift for my bae to always make sure that it will take care of her. But then on the personal side, I always want to make sure that I'm finding something to keep me balanced with the business side of making sure I keep the content fresh, which is why I do these lives, why I post on TikTok. I don't have a lot of streamers or followers, but I don't need a lot of followers. I can only have two people in my office at one time when we're talking, but I can only do one thing at a time. And so for this weekly recap that I just wanted to end on is to say, follow your goals. Follow your goals, because that's going to give you the most happiness. That meeting with that person earlier this week really hit me hard, because as they said, on paper everything looks good, and sometimes, isn't it crazy how nothing may look good on paper or nothing may look good on the device, but everything else is just fine. And so that's where my weekly recap for you is, like, don't get too high on the highs and don't get too low on the lows. We need each other. I have a conference coming up. It's called Let's Connect. But even with that, I have a community in there. Don't feel you have to do this alone. And this weekly recap, I'm telling you personal things so you don't feel like when your life is life and out of control, like, hey, look, there's other people, they got stuff going on too. You're not alone. Don't ever feel you're alone. It's just at the moment, yes, it sucks, but you're not alone. So with that being said, we're coming to the end, and I don't see anything in the chat. And so I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you following me. I appreciate you rocking with me. And I appreciate all your support, because I couldn't do it without you. And I just love what I do, to keep it real. And I want to share this out to you because it's important that we all learn from each other, because without each other, we wouldn't have what we have today. So I wish you all nothing but the best. Until next time, wish you nothing but success. I think I already said that. All right, y'all. I'm out. Dream big and Godspeed.